Good to have you with us. According to the national intelligence body Natterjoints, 62 people have been arrested in KZN and Gauteng since the violence and vandalism had begun a few days ago under the Free Zuma campaign, it seems. A probe also underway to determine the circumstances surrounding the fatal shooting of a 40-year-old man during these pro-Zuma protests as well. Let's unpack just how police have handled the situation, if they have handled it well enough. Centre for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation, Advocacy Officer Annah Moyo-Kupeta. Anna, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Just tell me what you think about how police have handled the situation over the past few days. Good or bad?
Thank you. The way protests have been handled over the few days really also is quite a mixed approach where, for instance, we are under lockdown currently. So there has been the issue of the breaching of lockdown rules where all sort of political gatherings, social gatherings have been prohibited. Therefore, those who would gather under the circumstances commit a crime. But also, as we have seen with protests over the years, during protesting, for instance, no matter the cause, we have seen criminality and criminal elements taking opportunity to loot property, for instance, and to vandalize property and damage property. And these are all criminal elements. So the arrest of those who have committed these acts, for instance, is really within the confines of the law, what is lawful to be done by the police. However, the escalation that we have seen over the past 2 or so days of the protests and also spreading into Gauteng, again, this is very normal of protests where protests may start from one point, but spreading very quickly to other parts of the country. So once again, there is a need to really address this issue. What I would say is that probably what the police have done so far, the arrest and the clamping down, for instance, within the confines of the law of these protests is within what the police should be doing. However, it is becoming very clear that police action alone, through arrest and also through just monitoring and closing down some sections of the city where these protests are prevalent, is not enough really to address this issue. We need a much stronger stance where, for instance, the president goes beyond just strongly condemning what is happening, but also seeing to it probably beginning to have dialogues with specific sections of society, especially those who may be leading these protests, so that these issues are addressed. They are heard, people are heard, especially those protesting, but also that even the rule of law also is allowed to take its course. The law itself is allowed to take its course, especially given that these are pro-Zuma protests, free Zuma protests, and the hashtags that have been going on. So there is a need to balance the law, but at the same time also protect the rights of those who are affected, and also at the same time ensure that there is the respect of the rule of law, and also that those who are protesting, their issues are also heard and addressed.
So as far as in the last 30 seconds I have with you, Anna, do you think it's time for the army to come in? Because while those who are protesting would like their voices to be heard, what we're seeing is criminality, and the police simply can't handle it. In the last 30 seconds, is it time for the army to move in?
I think bringing the army might be confusing, especially given what we saw as the result of bringing out the army during the lockdown in 2020, for instance, where the army has a much stronger and sterner hand in addressing these issues. And in most instances, we have not seen the army using a human rights approach in addressing protests or addressing or even bringing to book those who may be seen to be ringleaders of these protests. So the army might be a bit of an overhand by the South African government in addressing these protests. But we, however, do need to prioritize issues of dialogue, issues of hearing what the issues are, and trying by all means to address criminality, arresting those who are committing crime in the name of these protests.
Well, for the moment, I'm going to say thank you very much indeed for weighing in on the discussion for us this morning. The Centre for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation, Advocacy Officer Annah Moyo-Kupeta. Theory is one thing, but buildings are now on fire around the country. We're back with you in a moment.